Me personally, I have not been exceptionally happy with the state of DC Comics coming out of Infinite Frontier, but I have 5 things I think that could happen that would fix DC Comics almost immediately. And here talking with me about that is my good friend Dylan from The Real Comic Book Gamer. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing good, man. Excited to talk about this subject with you.
So what is your take on DC? Are you excited about the direction DC's going on right now?
Not really. I read one issue of Infinite Frontier and I was like, I don't really care about this, and then I didn't pick up the other issues, so I'm not too big into what they're doing right now. But they do have some solid books. Not everything sucks.
Oh no, yeah, there's some good stuff out there. We just had Robin and Batman in. That one was really good. Really enjoying Robin. Batman under Williamson's been good. Flash has been good. So there's some solid stuff out there. But there's definitely some improvements that could be made across the board. And here's my 5 suggestions that the things that I would do, and most of this is personnel changes that would fix DC Comics up very quickly. Number 5, quality group editors. And these are my suggestions. Bring in Peter J. Tomasi as the Superman group editor, Chuck Dixon as the Batman group editor, and make these high-paying premium positions so they would actually want to take them. It would really help. We just got through Fear State. That was a convoluted mess of an event. Nothing made sense. There was no cohesion. They need somebody that can oversee these types of things, that have executed at enormous levels. There are a few people that have done that, like a Chuck Dixon or even a Peter J. Tomasi.
I agree. I think those guys are great options. They would never choose them, especially Chuck Dixon. Never happen. But I think that'd be a great idea, especially because a lot of these books, it feels like no one's editing them, or they don't answer to anyone on like half the decisions that are made in the book. It's like, how does this even make it through? And there are even some books where like things happen multiple times over and you're like, wait, this just happened. That other book, was there no like collaboration here at all? So yeah, I definitely feel like that'd be a good idea, but good luck with that happening.
Well, history's on my side. If you think about like the best era for Batman ever, you know, kind of like in that late 80s era where you had the Frank Miller doing Dark Knight's Return, you had the Killing Joke, you had a lot of really classic Batman going on, including, you know, the Chuck Dixon stuff. It was all under the watchful eye of Denny O'Neil, essentially as the group editor. Obviously, he was a great choice because he was a really good Batman writer before he took it over. And I really think that it adds credence not only to the person doing it, so they have to listen to him, but they know how to do these things. And it really does feel like the blind leading the blind. We know that DC Comics fired a lot of people within the last 2 years, especially from the editorial team, and they need somebody in there can work with limited resources. And we need to get back to that Denny O'Neil era, obviously. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. So they need to find people that love the characters and universe as much as he did. And Peter J. Tomasi is probably a more logical choice. I would personally like him on Superman, but he could definitely do Batman as well.
Oh yeah, he did great on Detective Comics. He's written Nightwing in the past, did great there. He could do a lot of things, especially because for some reason, even though everyone loved what he's done at DC, DC's kind of left him out to dry lately. They're kind of just like, yeah, we're not going to give you a book right now, which doesn't make any sense to me. So if they get him as an editor, I'd definitely take that.
Dan Jurgens is another person you could come bring in, but you'd have to pay. You'd have to pay them a large enough salary to make it worth their time. I think that's probably where the impediment for this to actually happen is that they would never pay anybody, you know, the $120,000, $150,000 a year that it would probably require to bring them in on a job like that.
Yeah, because I don't think DC cares enough. As much as it's obvious that it's needed, I don't think DC really cares. I think they're good going down the route they want to. I think that's what they believe. But another person I'd throw in the ringer name would be Marv Wolfman. I think Marv Wolfman could do great as that as well.
Absolutely. But I got other plans for him. His name might come up here in a bit. The 4th thing I would do, or the number 4 thing I would do undo the Omniverse. I have not seen a value add to the Omniverse yet. It feels like it's just given writers carte blanche and editors carte blanche to just throw a bunch of crap at the wall, forget about continuity, and nothing makes sense anymore. I don't think the idea of the Omniverse and what it could bring to the table, I don't think it's brought anything to the table other than negative.
I agree. The addition of the Omniverse didn't mean anything when they first did that at the end of was it Dark Knight's Metal, whatever, the Death Metal. Yeah, at the end of Dark Knight's Death Metal, it was like at first it was like, what does this even mean? And then it turns out it didn't really mean much, and it's just like you said, giving writers a pass to do basically whatever they want. Continuity doesn't mean anything. Everything's canon basically. It doesn't. The Omniverse doesn't add anything. It's really stupid, and it was not needed at all.
And really retroactively, you almost can't retcon stuff out of existence because of the Omniverse. And the way they would describe it is, if everything's important, nothing's important. But if everything happened, everything happened. You can't retcon what happened in Heroes in Crisis. You can't retcon what happened in Superman Red and Blue #1, Superman getting raped, and all these really stupid decisions that have happened, even recently, but even kind of in the past. And you can't separate them. There is a Superman, that was a communist in Red Sun. That is a legitimate Superman. It's not Elseworlds anymore.
Yeah, it's stupid. And the funny thing is, like, as much as that is how it is technically in DC, no fan sees it that way. No fan sees this as canon. We still, like, when I read Batman the Imposter, I'm like, that is an Elseworld story in my head. Like, the Omniverse does not come into play. And I feel like that's how most fans see it when they read, like, one of these books. They're like, oh, that's Elseworlds, even though technically everything's canon.
Well, and technically everything's Elseworlds.
Yeah.
It's
it's everything.
Literally diverge from every timeline and do a new story.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it's the Omniverse. 50 things could have happened from there. And it makes things more confusing than more streamlined. And what's the other one? The linear verse? We never needed a reason for time to move slowly in comic books.
Yeah, it's just messy and not needed.
Everyone knows that there's a sliding timeline in comic books. Now, this is the third thing I would do that would really improve DC Comics today. I would start bringing back the heavy hitters. We're seeing this a lot at Marvel. They're bringing back like a Claremont, Peter David, James DeMatteis, and they're doing these classic characters. They're in continuity, but they're like 30 years ago. But bring back Marv Wolfman, Jim Starlin, Jeff Loeb, even artists like Greg Capullo, Gary Frank, Jason Fabok, Neil Adams, Frank Whiteley. Some of these people that have been on these really impressive, high quality books, and bring it back to DC. You're doing so many miniseries now. If you're just going to do miniseries, pay these people and bring in some of these quality creators.
That would be great. I wish they would, especially because it's so weird that Jason Fabok's not like on a book right now. It's so weird that he's not on an ongoing. He's one of the best DC has, and they're just leaving him out to dry. It makes no sense. But yeah, I would love to see, man. Marv Wolfman on a Deathstroke miniseries I'd pre-order that so fast. I wish they would do that.
We're Marv Wolfman on Superman. Jeez, give us something with Superman. Well, Action Comics isn't bad right now. It's actually pretty good, but there's only so many Superman books out there that you can read. Put somebody on Wonder Woman that can do something with the character. I imagine Jim Starlin, but take her to space.
Do something.
And then obviously, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale just returned. They had that long Halloween special. I mean, that's just like money sitting on the table to bring these two guys back. Let them do a 5-issue miniseries once a year. And that long Halloween universe, that version of Two-Face is the best version you're ever going to see in comic books.
I agree. That would be cool. Or something, well, not necessarily Tim Sale related, but with Jeff Loeb. They just gave, what's his name? That's the Superman Batman series, The World's Finest.
Mark Waid.
Yeah, they just gave Mark Waid that. Man, if they would have announced Jeff Loeb instead, I would be so much more hyped for that book. Imagine that. If Jeff Loeb came back to write Superman and Batman, that would be so much more interesting to me compared to Mark Waid writing them. Yeah,
they have so many green as goose shit comic book writers. And I understand some of them are screenwriters or maybe have worked in the animation department. And I think just with a lot of them, I just don't think they have a lot of experience, period. But it's really showing in the quality of the books. There just are only a handful there that you could really count on to be good. Like Tim Sheridan doesn't need to have a job at DC Comics at this point. He hasn't written a good comic book yet. Why isn't Marv Wolfman or Jim Starlin writing something? There's room for these people. I understand you're going on the cheap, but you get what you pay for. We're getting a lot of substandard shitty comic books.
Yeah, and it's like Marv Wolfman's a guy that's made it clear that he would love to write more books too. Like he's talked about it. I remember him talking about when his Superman book came out, he would love to currently write Superman. Like he has passion for it because some of them you think about some legendary comic creators and they're more jaded and don't really want to come back. But you have someone like Marv Wolfman who loves it and wants to write these characters, and DC's like, nah, or just leave them to the side.
It just makes no sense to me. Now we're in the top two ways I would fix DC Comics. Now, this one requires stealing a talent. I think that they should go out there and get Jonathan Hickman and bring him over and put him on Legion of Superheroes. It's clear that, he had big plans for X-Men when he brought was brought back to Marvel. He's always talked about how he wants to write the Legion of Superheroes. He's got a big story idea with it. His X-Men would still be a big deal and would be amazing right now if Marvel haven't interfered. Bring Hickman over, let him have the Legion of Superheroes. Say you get one title. If it gets good, maybe you can get 2 titles, and just let him run with it. They haven't done anything cool with the Legion of Superheroes in so long. The guy loves the characters, and it's time for him to get a real run at DC Comics.
But I don't know if he could ever get out of Bendis' shadow of his legendary run on the Legion of Superheroes. That would be hard to surpass.
Oh, man. Did you read Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes #1?
No, I stayed as far away from that book as possible.
I made Doc read it for our Worst of the Week segment. Shocker, it was bad.
Who would have thought? Yeah, I'd be down for Hickman to write Legion of Superheroes. Like you said, no one's actually done anything good with them in years. They let Bendis do whatever he want, but nothing was interesting there. He kind of just used them as a vessel to do what he wanted with John. It'd be pretty cool to see what Jonathan Hickman could do with those characters and make them relevant again. Because the last time they were actually like interesting was when Geoff Johns wrote them in Superman and Legion of Superheroes. That was like the last time they were interesting.
Yeah, and every time that Hickman essentially replaces Bendis on anything, it works out really well. He elevates everything. He takes all the crap that Bendis dropped the ball with and does something cool with it. As he said, he's always kind of mining his work and finding the gold nuggets. Now, if you couldn't get Hickman, because he had an ironclad contract with Marvel, there's another creator out there that has a history with Legion of Superheroes. Bring back Jim Shooter. Screw it. I'd buy a Jim Shooter comic book right now.
That'd be interesting. He couldn't do any worse than Bendis. It'd be interesting to see what he could do on Legion of Superheroes.
Obviously, he was writing Legion of Superheroes when he was 15 years old. He did come back. He was around the New 52. It was one of those times where he did come back, obviously, after all of his Marvel stuff was done, where he worked on them again. But do something with these characters. It should be a big franchise. It used to be a big deal. And it's laying there just waiting to be elevated right now.
They should have a good ongoing book right now, but they don't. And no one cares about them. No one takes them seriously.
And this is the number one thing, and I think this would do the most good right now. I like Jim Lee. I think he's a fantastic artist. He's a legend in the comic book industry. I don't know that him being like the guy in charge of continuity for characters for DC across all mediums is the best. Suits his talents the best. Let's just put it that way. I don't know that he's really an effective leader. I'm sure he's an executive and he's got his place, but he's not an idea guy. It's time to move him out and get somebody that can actually cultivate a thriving, fantastic DC Comics universe, and that is Geoff Johns. I know Geoff Johns is supposed to be important with the films and television. He ain't making a difference. It pretty much all sucks right now. Bring it back to comic books. We can't do Rebirth over again, but when he was the chief creative officer, we got Rebirth. DC Comics universe was essentially perfect for about 2 years.
Everything he writes is gold. Like there's never something when a Geoff Johns books disappoints, it's because it's good, not great. Like he almost never misses the mark. And it's clear that he loves these characters. He does a great job with them. What he did with Doomsday Clock and DC Rebirth was fantastic. He was the one who brought Wally West back. Like think about it, we wouldn't even have Wally West back if it weren't for him. He loves these characters. I think him being in charge would be great, but I don't know if he wants to. That's the thing. I don't know if he wants to or if DC wants him to. But yeah, Jim Lee's been like in that co-publisher position and stuff for a while, and he hasn't done too much.
What has he brought to the table? It's like you never hear Jim Lee say, "I had this great idea and this is what I've done." He's the other executive guy. At least Dan Didio talked to people and you knew what he was doing. I think Jim Lee just goes to board meetings and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place for that. But he's got a creative portion of his job right now, and it does not suit him. And, obviously he made his money at Marvel, his Wildstorm. That's probably where his heart was to begin with. And, I get it, but Geoff Johns is definitely the way to go. And I think he would turn around the DC Comics universe within a year.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think if there's one man that could do it, it's Geoff Johns. I think he could definitely save DC and put DC back on track to a place to where the fans are actually happy again.
Yeah, that's important. We need to get the best version of the characters. So those are the 5 things I would do. I would bring in quality group editors. You're going to have to pay them. I would undo the Omniverse. It has done nothing good for the universe. And if anything, it's been a net negative. bring back some of the heavy hitters to write and illustrate these comic books, steal Jonathan Hickman, put him on the Legion of Superheroes, and then replace Jim Lee with Geoff Johns. Now, you are a DC Comics super fan. And did I miss anything? Is there something you would do that you think DC Comics would really improve DC Comics and almost immediately?
Ban Bendis from ever writing for DC again. I think that would
Move
just
Bendis?
like just put a permanent
Take Tom
ban,
King with him.
yeah, make it just like, I think that would improve DC a lot. Like, you get rid of those two guys and just instantly you just feel better.
The karma would be better. Definitely the chi of the universe would be improved.
Be more in balance.
So I definitely want to say thank you very much to Dylan from the Real Comic Book Gamer for joining me talking about these. And we love the DC Comics universe. We're a little bit disappointed, but we want to see it return to its glory. There have been some major developments at DC Comics since this video was recorded. If you did not know, Daniel Cherry III, Jim Lee's right-hand man, has quit. He's out the door. And also, Geoff Johns has returned to DC Comics. He's not the EIC. He's not the publisher, but he is writing a comic book. If you're unaware of the other one of these, you got 2 videos to watch.